Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Cleaning and Cocktails. You guys know the deal. I bring on cleaning business owners, cleaning subject matter experts, industry professionals to share their story, talk shop with me here, have a cocktail or two. Well, these two have water and sparkling water, so we'll let them go on this one. But today I have the pleasure of having, I wouldn't say just guests, I would say friends, because I've known Dan and Evelyn from Express Cleaning down in Austin, Texas for quite a while. You guys are probably, for anybody who hears me talk about affiliate partners or how Rosalato has built some of their national coverage across the country, Express Commercial Cleaning happens to be one of the first companies we've ever teamed up with and did business with in multiple different accounts, multiple different opportunities. We're so close that our supplies get delivered to their area all the time because they have your contact info. But without further ado, Dan, Evelyn, a power couple, husband and wife, family business. Please let the cleaning and cocktails community know who you are and a little bit about you guys, how you got into the cleaning industry.
Do you want to take it over?
Go right ahead.
I want to see you start.
Let her go, Dan. You got to let her go. For sure.
Yes, I mean, tell me when to stop. I'll go. So 2008, we were both employed, having had full-time jobs, and mine ended up being a layoff scenario. And so at the end of that position, it was also 2008, which was a challenging time, right? I mean, it was kind of similar to what's going on now. Layoffs were abound. And so that's kind of what happened to us. And he had his full-time job, and my background is I was working at a startup company then, and so got laid off, and we kind of talked about it, and he's been entrepreneurial his entire life, and actually that's one of the things that I admire most about him. We kind of just sat and talked about what we would do, what we could, what the options were. Got an education, college background, so for me, jumping into the next job was easy, right? I mean, everybody needs an accountant, no matter how big or small the company is, and so I knew that I could land something fairly quick and continue having the wheels on the bus and pay our bills that way. But we talked and we said, you know what would the idea of starting our own business look like for ourselves? What could we do? What industry? What would that look like? And so he had been, like I said, accustomed to just having that entrepreneur spirit since I met him. And I know he's had it, he'll tell you all his whole life. And so he was detailing cars, kind of just running his own little small business himself. And so I had helped him a little bit with that, and kind of just on the administrative side behind the scenes. He really was the mastermind on the quality and the detail, and I knew that he had that. So early on, I was like, I know this guy's got the eye for detail. He's an entrepreneurial person. He's self-starter, self-motivator. So we just kind of talked to him. We landed on, what if we do our own business? And then we started researching industries and what is an economic proof type of business. So we came across cleaning for various reasons. Number one, it's easy to start, right? Go to the store, get your supplies, and you're in business practically. So we researched it, and we wanted to kind of further develop what type of cleaning we would do. So we focused on commercial and residential, and then compared the two and just decided, let's just do commercial. Let's stick with that. So that's kind of how we took off. The hard part, as a lot of people often find themselves in, is the struggle of, okay, it's great and we're going to start a business, we're going to get going, but you still have bills, you still have a mortgage, you still have car payments. And so we knew it wasn't going to be just as easy as, okay, let's go start a business and no customers, no revenue. So we still had to have jobs. So I think probably for the first, year or so,
Year and a half, 2 years.
year and a half, 2 years, we still had full-time jobs. And all the while we were trying to get this thing going and just do it on the side, do it after hours, whenever we could. So this is kind of how we had a rough start with having jobs at the same time and trying to start a new business.
And a 2-year-old son, and she was pregnant.
Yes. Oh, and I was pregnant.
Well, that's so like, Dan,
Yeah.
it's going to be your turn in a second. Hold on. She gave you multiple compliments.
She can say all. She can just continue.
Right? She's just giving you compliment after compliment. But here, you guys touched on something I actually wanted to. So 2 things. If you guys move over to the side each real quick, it says 15th anniversary. Okay, come back in. For those of you that are watching. So 15 years. Wow. Right? Like, again, I don't know if you guys, obviously, I study stats on the industry. It's my job to study stats and know what the numbers are. And they're against many cleaning business owners in that first or second year. A lot of companies come into the industry, but then they fail, right? You guys doing 15 years, that's kudos to you. Congratulations. Obviously, I'm a big advocate of family business, so I think a lot of that success comes, you guys are best friends, husband and wife, family. But let's take a quick step back, and then Dan, maybe you take this one on, right? Is you guys said the first couple of years you had to work. Same right there with you guys. I had my other job. My wife and I were trying to figure it all out. But I want you to take this question and give us some feedback on, at what point did you realize this was something you were willing to both quit your jobs? But on top of the second part to that question is, you just said you had kids, or you had kids when you first started. Evelyn was pregnant. I did not have to deal with that. So I don't have any shared experience. My wife and I we kicked it off with no kids. So talk about the aha moment you guys were like, hey, this is going to work, babe. Let's do it. Let's quit our jobs. And then the fact that you had to also worry about, you've got kids. You're going to have a second kid while all this is going on. Talk to us about the beginning stages of that.
Part of it was when we started, knowing that she was pregnant, knowing that we had, I want to say our son was 1.5 years old. It was when we started this, we kind of jumped into it as this is the path. We're going to make it work regardless, even though we knew we had full-time jobs. We knew that she was going to be making sales calls during her lunch break at her full-time job. We knew that we were going to be cleaning in the evenings. We knew that we were going to be doing the weekend work. We knew that and that's where the family came in. Her mom has done a lot of work as far as what was being available to watch our kids while we did the weekend work, while we did the evening work. We relied on my parents and my brother and sister. When they got to a point to where we needed to grow and expand, we utilized my brother and sister-in-law to basically watch our children Monday through Friday during the day. So, and as far as when we decided that this was going to work was when we landed a large enough contract for me to quit my job and work full-time.
I think so everybody that listens, that's the key part is, I'm sure we can go back and forth on this, you guys, is being like winning business that can take over your salary, right? Like that is the key moment when again, it doesn't have to be spot on, right? If you're making $60,000 a year, you don't have to win a $60,000 a year contract to move on. But that's when it gets real, right? It gets exciting because you're like, wait a minute, this contract covers most of my salary. I can focus on the business. Now it's my wife's turn. Okay, we're going to find another contract. It's a numbers game, right? I mean, Evelyn, I know you're in accounting. She's accounting. She's the numbers girl, right?
Yep.
What advice can you share, or shared experience? I take it back. I love shared experience better than advice. But what shared experience can you give the audience and the listeners on numbers, like how to approach when is the right time? Or you don't want to say when, there's not one size fits all, but how did you approach it when you were like, you know what, the numbers make sense. Dan's ready to quit, and now I'm ready to quit, and we're ready to blow this up.
I would say we had to sit down and figure out what it was that we needed. If I were to lose or quit my job, what would our company need to pay us? And at what point does our company make enough money to afford to pay me? Not necessarily just have, let's say, $60,000 a year.
Equal to equal. It's not just equal. Okay.
Then the company can't really grow and expand. So, and that's part of the reason that we did this with full-time jobs for a year and a half, is we were dealing with smaller contracts. We were getting to the point to where, okay, we can kind of see it down the horizon. We're making X amount. To pay us, we need to be at this number. And that's kind of how we looked at it.
Now, let's talk about 15 years, right? The journey. I mean, everybody always talks about, it's a very common goal for most of us that, I know for me it was 1 million. I want to hit 1 million in revenue. I hit 1 million. I've done it. I've hit that, because it's a big milestone. Let's not, let's not kid ourselves. You hit $1 million in revenue, things change, and like you've got something going. When did you guys get there? And as you approached, what was the feeling, the gut feeling about how you guys were going at it and what was going to come out of it?
I think this is an easy one because the feeling, first off, it took us 10 years. It took us 10 years to get to that magic threshold that everybody's looking forward to. That is extremely difficult, and that's why they say the first million will always be the hardest. After that, it's still challenging, but not as challenging. I think I can answer for both of us as far as what we felt like and we were thinking leading up to that. Ricky, I can tell you it was just sheer exhaustion. The sheer exhaustion, right? We worked hard for 10 years, blood, sweat, and tears alongside all of our team members, our family that see us struggle on the good days and struggle on the bad days with issues that you face, that we all face. And so I think at that 10-year mark, the magic mark, it was exhaustion, but also at the same time relief. Like, okay, this is what everybody says, keep pushing for. Everybody that's a business owner, every mentor that you have, keep working towards this goal. When we get there, kind of a relief, but then it's that fear, I don't know, excitement, maybe fear too, of, oh crap, now we're like respected official. We made that mark, we can continue going. And so, yeah, I mean, getting to that point, I think was exhausting, but it was probably the most learning as business owners, I think, has happened in those first 10 years.
Yeah. Because think about, I mean, Dan, obviously you had a knack for wanting to be an entrepreneur. You guys were doing some of the stuff already. Evelyn, you're coming at it from having a degree in education, may not have been an entrepreneur. I think it's scary for people to take that plunge, but I think you guys said taking the plunge together, again, family, husband and wife, the fact that you guys had all these variables that worked in your favor. Did you feel once you got there, obviously you said relief. I like that description. I felt the same way. Did you feel though it started to gain momentum for you? Like you've hit that mark, now momentum begins. What was that year after? How's that next 12 months of hitting that marker work for you guys?
It was still a learning on our end. It was also a stage to where we had to decide and basically tell ourselves that we need to rely on other people. We are too large to be doing and being involved with everything. We need to find people. We need help. We need to put team members, managers, supervisors. We need to find some sort of structure to get this thing going and growing, because we also knew that getting to the next million, what that took. So
let's dig deeper on that, right? Like, so 2 parts to that now. Okay, so you're going from $1 million, you have your next milestone. What was, because it's funny, you're like, you give up trust. I remember those moments too. I'm like, my wife all the time, Marley's like, are we going to trust this person? Is this where we got to close our eyes and go to bed? Are we going to trust this person when we wake up? What were some of the big key hires in that moment where you approached the 1 million mark? Now you're getting past there. And I'm digging deep, you guys, because I actually realized I went back and I looked at some episodes, and I don't feel like I rushed through some people's journeys, but like I'd like to, I know you guys very well, so it's like I want to dig deep on the journey, because I think that does help people get along, because there's many people almost at $1 million, they're in $1 million, getting to the next one. I think these shared experiences will help them. So key hires. And looking back now to where, from now to that moment, would that have been those first key hires that you guys did?
I think one of the first ones that we made, probably leading up to it, maybe a couple years before that magic mark, was hiring a dedicated night manager to help us. When you're starting out the first couple of years, it literally is a 24/7 type of business, because you're so young, you're learning the business, and you've got to be at all hours of the night, and you don't necessarily have the budget to have those partners within your business to help you get from one year to the next early on. And so I think before that mark, we hired a night manager, helped us, so now we could at least sleep at night. Were there issues? Yes, there still were issues, but at least we had someone that can kind of manage those issues. We could be at home with our children. They were in school, and so super important, right, to be with your kids. And so having that person at night allowed us to sleep, know that things were being taken care of. He could resolve pretty much any issue that came up. So he did amazing. I think truly owning the business after hours and kind of being that Dan and Evelyn at night to think like us, act like us, make decisions for us. And so, yeah, that was one of the early positions early on that we brought on. As we started growing, then it became more of a challenge to kind of administratively, everything grows, right? It's not just more buildings, more employees, more team members, more administratively. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes, right? more invoicing, more ordering for him, more just everything that happens, more visitors to the office, more team members. Oh, I need to pick up my check. Oh, I need to pick up supplies. And so
More incoming phone calls.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got to tell you, I still have not adopted the virtual assistant. Like I've got to learn that. Oh, do you guys use VAs by any chance?
We are in the same boat. We
Oh, man.
are at the point to where we are researching it right now.
Oh yeah, I've got to. Like I see so many companies taking advantage. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
there's got to be some efficient ways to be doing it.
I think it's like the whole trust thing. You could trust somebody reading your email and answering for you, knowing how to answer a question when it pops up. And you don't necessarily have to be with your phone on your hip all day long. You can have someone delegate that. So we're working, so we understand the struggles with that. We're working to try to come up with a solution.
Because I don't actually think I've asked this question with you guys before. Maybe I should know this, maybe I don't. How long have you guys been married now?
It's 19 years. It'll be 19 years this March. This coming March will be 19 years. So.
19 years. Okay. So, again, another question I always forget to ask, but I don't get the opportunity to always have husband and wife teams, and partners and all that. I feel like we resonate all the time. That's why I think we've had such good relationships with each other. Let's talk about some moments that have tested you guys being a husband and wife, trying to build this business, but then you have to, as I tell my wife's calling me as I'm talking to you guys. So
Pause and answer that.
right? No, we're good. We're
Put
good.
her on. We all know.
Babe, I'm on the call. I'm on the call. So like, talk about some, because this is real, right? Like, hey, you guys are husband and wife, but you're also business partners. When people talk about turning it off when you get home, I don't think there's a world of turning it off, but how have you dealt with being best friends, business partners, bosses? How does that dynamic work on a day-to-day business? And especially with growth, right? Like you guys are growing as a company.
I mean, I'll be the first to say that I don't turn it off when I'm supposed to. I think I'm getting better, but I still, sometimes if things come up last minute or an emergency, I'm like, hey, Dan, did you remember to do this? Hey, did you send that? Or did you pick this up? And so I find myself doing that still. And he knows that hopefully his answer is that she's gotten better at it, not 100%, but I hope that I'm at least trying every day to...
Effort.
To not bring work home every single night. And I can tell you, there's going to be times where I still will be. And sometimes there's an emergency and you're the owner, so that falls on your shoulders, so you have to address it. But I hope that at least I'm getting better at not every day. Maybe it's 2 times a week I did this week instead of every single night like I used to until after the kids, before dinner, during dinner, after I put the kids to bed. It's still bringing up work. And so...
right before you went to bed.
Right before, my last message to you before I said goodnight.
But hey, I'll tell you guys though, like again, I don't know about you, but with me and Marley too, she'll put me on the spot, like Rick turned it off, but then you'll see she turns it on, right? So like we actually play off each other.
Go back and
forth. We do it in front of, so our boys are 5 and 3. How many kids do you guys have now again?
We've got 2. We got a 17 and 15-year-old.
Oh, they're ready to start. Oh man, they've been working. Oh, you guys are good. See, I wish I was there, but like I've noticed when we do talk about it, it actually has brought like my 5-year-old, especially Nico. He knows what work means, right? He knows like if I'm on a call or he knows emails. He knows if I'm on a podcast doing this. So I feel like I've exposed him a little bit early on. So sometimes I'll tell Marley, like, I don't mind that we talk about work at home, right? Because again, it's hard. Every holiday is work. I got 24 family members that work in the business. Yeah. You guys know how that works.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
But like, how are the kids with the fact that you guys are business owners? Is there pride? Is there like, do they get to come and enjoy what you guys do as well?
I mean, with teenagers, it's going to be hard to get them overly excited about anything other than an iPhone. They've got their moments. They've got their moments where they're like, oh, wow, Mom and Dad, you guys lead a company that's 105 employees. That's pretty cool. Or, Mom, I saw your reviews today. Or they're just random things that they pick up on or that they see as they're searching. Oh, Mom, I saw your post about this today. And
that's cool.
Or on the flip side, if they're working with us in the summer, Mom, why did you post that picture of me washing towels? Or why did you post that picture of me, painting the wall?
Get my good side, Mom. Get my good side.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's with teenagers, like I said, it's hit or miss. I'd like to think that we're at least encouraging them for a path like ours, if that's something that they want to do, or if they graduate college and they decide, you know what, I tried working somewhere and let me see what it's like with Mom and let me see if we can't work with her full time. I would love that 100%. But at the end, you've got to let them have their own little their own wings and their own path and figure out the world on their own. If they want to come back and come work at this place, I'll say, let's do it.
There's always a spot.
There's always
There's
a
an
spot.
interview. You got to go through the interview process.
Absolutely.
A grueling
Do
interview
you-
process.
Do you fit the mold of what we do? Are you express cleaning, first
Are
of all?
you? Here's the culture.
Yes.
Let's talk about, well, you said culture, right? So you guys are out of Austin, Texas. When we first met, I think it was in Austin, right? We were meeting there. We came down there, had a great first time to meet you guys. And again, our relationship started to grow. Let's talk about that because I think it's important for cleaning company owners. I feel like, especially when you're growing, because again, I did it. I know you guys did it, is we became a subcontract for larger companies for two reasons. One, it was like a free lead, right? Kim coming in, it's a good opportunity, but we actually learned good and bad from some primes that we used to work with. When we called you guys, were we the first time you had done subcontracting, or did you have experience being a subcontractor or a partner for somebody else? And how did you approach that early on to then as it progressed?
I don't think that we had been approached at this type of scale before. I think we had done smaller, like facility maintenance type companies that are just looking for a provider in an area to go service a CVS or to go service a Walgreens. I think at that point, I think that would have been, that was our extent as far as like subcontracting, but certainly not anything at the scale that we encountered whenever we started working together and partnering up to offer services. But yeah, it was pretty neat getting to know you and just hearing about the opportunity, and even just meeting you and Marley when you guys came down here just opened our minds up to being able to talk to another couple that was similar boat, wife, husband team, and they're in the cleaning business, we're in the cleaning business. How cool, they're in Chicago and they're here. And then what if this, at that point we were just meeting and just kind of talking shop, right? We were just like what ifing at the end of the conversation. When we got home that night, we were like, how cool would it be to work with them? They're in Chicago, we're here, we can work together. And for us, we looked at it as truly an opportunity to kind of learn about our business, learn more about the industry through the eyes of the experiences that you guys have, the cleaning that you guys did that we didn't do. And so just didn't need, I think I was excited when we got home and we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, I would tell you, man, like even me and Dom still talk about it to this day too. And it's like every relationship is different. Every partnership is different. You approach it differently. It progresses and grows differently. Some are just, you got one location, you guys work together and that's it. With you guys, it was like, I'll tell you, most hands off we've ever been, where it's like, they got it. Dom would even be like, hey man, get out of the way. They know, they got it. They know what they're doing. We had never been so involved, yet so not involved with a partner. Like, a lot of partners were very involved, right? Like, we're always in conversations, but I got to give you guys kudos. Like, you took the opportunity and you owned it as if, like, I mean, to me, it couldn't have gone better. Obviously, things happen and things are true. Don't worry. We still got more stuff coming. I think it's a testament to how much you guys have a passion for what you're doing and the brand that you have. Because don't get me wrong, right? We had our ups and downs with the clients, but you guys never answered every phone call, answered every email, answered every message, probably answered messages that we may not even know about to this day, just to handle things. So again, I wanted to give you guys kudos on that because I think the subcontractor world and the way business is done, it still has a stigma to it.
Yeah.
That obviously you guys know us, you, right? Our community, we're always trying to push and fight for, we can work together. It's very possible. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I'll add to that I think our minds was, how can we make this relationship work the best? How can this partnership succeed? And for us, the only way was for us to take the reins, and thank you for letting us have those reins, because I feel like if you hadn't given us those reins and constantly stayed on top of us, it might have turned out differently. But because of the fact that you were so trusting and willing to give us those reins, that we were like, okay, let's go. Let's get on the horse and we'll tell it where to go, where to stop, where to eat, all this stuff. So thank you so much for doing that. I mean, and I'll even say this, a partnership, you guys are a great example of that, because a year back or so, I don't remember if it was your idea or Dom's idea, to actually on our aprons get both, I don't know if you remember this, get press logo on them. I mean, in what world would that work out other than the cleaning world where you trust each other and you're true partners? I mean, I wasn't afraid of having your logo on our aprons, and I'm sure you weren't afraid. I think it was your ideas to start to have that on there. So to me, that's a true definition of a partner.
Yeah, like I'll tell you, that is still something, like not everybody takes us up on it. They're like, to your point, we want to have our own logo on our shirt, blah, blah, blah. So, again, to each his own, but like you said, it it really signifies partnership, right? Like your logo, our logo together. It shows, because I always was big on, you guys know, I mean, look at what the hell I'm wearing.
The branding.
Talk about branding. Let's,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
slow down, Rick. You guys, same way. I guarantee you guys got it all over.
Oh yeah.
But
We got it right
like,
here.
right? Like who would you be or who would I be if we didn't allow each other to promote who we are, right? At the end of the day, if we communicate with our clients, that's the goal here is communication. I feel like half the battle issues arise because of lack of communication. And it's either we could talk about between us as partners and cleaning companies working together or with our clients. At the end of the day, when things go wrong, there was a mishap, right? Yes, don't get it wrong. There's times that it's just we did a bad job, bad service, we didn't deliver, right? But a lot of times it's communication.
Yep.
So that leads me to another question is, again, you guys know a lot of the audience and people listening, watching in, they take takeaways from this. And I wanted to ask you two, what is one thing, so two parts, is what is one thing that you guys do that you feel it is a strength and you do it very well and you've doubled down on it, and then piggyback that with what is an area you're constantly trying to grow and you recognize that it's an area of improvement. And I ask this question because I want people to reflect on themselves as they're listening too, where if their strength matches your strength, that's going to be cool. It resonates. And if their pain point or weakness matches your weakness, they should listen to what you have to say to try to get some advice.
I want to say that as far as
Dan's going to be like, I'm the strength. Okay.
I will say that we feel that the communication that we have with our clients, we do very well. If there's ever an issue that arises, if there's ever a concern that comes up, if there's ever a request for anything, I feel that we are always there for them.
I will 10x that because anybody listening, I have screenshots that I use as examples. Maybe that's invasive of privacy. I don't know. Maybe I gotta take that back. So people that are listening, these two, they sent us email reports every single morning for 5 years on accounts that we had to just give us the recap of what happened the night before. Like I was going to say, that better be a strength of yours because you guys' communication is on point.
And I would say something that I feel on my end that we need to work better on is a little bit better follow-up to make sure that things got taken care of in a timely manner.
Okay.
I think that's fair. I think
That's fair.
it's a very thin line between being able to trust your team, but then for the sake of the customer, let them know, give them peace of mind, this got done, or this, we went and grabbed that sweet and did whatever. So it's kind of like, okay, do we push our teams too much? We know we trust them, but then at the end of the day, you're also accountable to your customers or to the end tenant in that space. And so, we've got to figure out how to stay on top of things like that. And I know you just said we do a good job of communication. I think what he's trying to say is just that follow-up, just that, hey, dot the I, did it get done? Yeah, knock it off the list. Okay, awesome. Move on to the next one. Did that one get done? Another thing that I think for me, one of the challenges, I think we'll see how we can continue bridging that gap with that culture. Right as you grow larger and larger, I think the culture becomes more and more important. For me, I feel sometimes like I'm wondering, are we doing enough to kind of bridge everybody, bring everybody together? Are we pushing for the goals of the culture? Like those are the bigger challenges that we never would have had when it was just he and I cleaning.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, right? It's, again, husband and wife leadership team of the company. You have over 100 employees. What is the next big, let's talk about the next 3 years, right? You guys remember the 3HAG and the 3HAG way, right? Remember that book we discussed? Like, have you guys worked on that, right? What is the 3-year goal for Express, Evelyn, and Dan, over the next 3 years? If you're looking at 2026, what is a shift you want to make for your culture? What are ambitions and goals or milestones that you guys have? I know I'm throwing this question right at you guys. 3-year goal.
Yeah.
You should be working on it.
Yeah.
But no, is there things that come to mind that you guys are ready, like you could fire off?
Yeah, I think probably a building expansion, if we're going to grow the way that we think or projecting that we're going to grow, I think being in a 3,600 square foot office probably won't sustain that. And so we've got to be able to scale those. We look at it as a system. If we scale our systems, our electronic and our spreadsheets or apps or whatever software we use, why wouldn't you want to scale the operations too out of the building that you're currently using? So for us, that's one of the things that we're looking at too, 3-4 year time frame. Hopefully we have expanded every nook or used every nook and cranny in this current building to look at our next one and then rent this one out. I think that's one of the goals. I think we've got specific metrics and by size, all the KPIs like the locations and the dollar per location and the team, the size of the team and what that accountability chart is going to look like. Some very probably more middle management stuff is what we're going to need for getting into those next 3 years to help us truly kind of get ourselves to where, okay, let the business run itself. Let me truly focus on marketing or sales. Let him focus on developing that operations team so that way he's not running to go fix vacuums or he's not going to.
Don't do that. Come on. You got to get I joke, you got to get an Uncle Jerry. I tell everybody needs an Uncle Jerry.
Facility manager.
Yeah, I need a facility manager. I finally stopped fixing the vacuums and I just dropped them off.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you guys are in Austin, right? I know we've done work in Houston with you guys, right? Is it when you're thinking of expansion, Evelyn and Dan? Are you thinking like across Texas or outside of Texas? I mean, Texas alone is massive. But,
Yeah.
But like, are you like you're in Austin, thinking Houston, thinking like Dallas, San Antonio, or what does expansion look like for you guys over the next 3 years?
Over the next 3 years, we definitely want to get back into Houston. We feel that we had a very solid crew in Houston that are still interested in working with us. So Houston is definitely somewhere we feel we could easily get back into. San Antonio, we are interested in. Dallas, Plano, those kind of areas within 3-4 hour driving distance. So emergencies arise. It's not necessarily a plane ride.
All right. So on top of growth, expansion, something I actually just thought about is not just like books that you guys read, but do you guys go to courses and workshops? Obviously, we attend many events together, but do you feel it helps you doing things together and attending things together? Or does each one of you have something that is your focus and niche that you want to double down on over this next couple of years too? Where is it always about learning together? Or do you see that you guys have to also learn separately, again, to catapult the company? Because you two are the leaders of the company. So it's like, how's that dynamic work when you guys are thinking of how do I develop myself as a leader and as a owner of the company?
Yeah, I think that specific conversation, we've had that conversation before. I think when we started doing your cleaning cocktails events and some other learning opportunities that we had, and we sat down, we talked about that particular scenario. So one of the things that we decided as a couple was at least the events that we do, if we are doing 2 events a year, or if we budget for 2, we definitely want to make sure that one of those is something that we both attend because, well, not only the networking, but when you're there together, you both absorb the information. You hear it twice, you both write it down, so then it's written for between the hearing and the
Four times.
writing it down. It's 4 times. The way to have that repetition sink in, retaining that information, than to do it that many number of times. And then I think the other one can be another seminar or event that we can do individually, or if he's pressed for time. I feel like we also need to find like operations too. So I want to explore getting our teams into operations as well.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for me to go on here information, or both of us to go, but I think exposing your teams to
You got to bring it back.
Bring it back, have them get some knowledge on areas of improvement within their world.
Yeah. It's always exciting to get back from these seminars and these events. We are just wanting to have our teams be involved with some of that. Maybe they can get the same sort of excitement that we do when we go and attend them.
That's 100%. That's you nailed it, man. That's
Because we can get excited, but how can our excitement get them excited?
Translate.
Because that's what matters, right? At the end of the day, you're only going to grow as much as your team grows. And if it's only, I feel like us as owners and leadership, if it's always us absorbing everything, there comes a point where it's like, all right, well, there's only so much we can absorb and take in and come back and give it to the rest of the team. There's got to be a platform for them to go out and learn.
Right. We were at one of your events, and we spent a little bit of time talking to Dom, and I think just the excitement.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
If anybody gets you riled up, it's Dom. And so I think we started talking to Dom, and I threw out, well, let's explore outside of Texas. Let's go Louisiana, Oklahoma. And so, but then I got back to reality, and it's like, you know what? Texas is a lot of real estate. Texas is big. It's like a quarter of the U.S., so it's like, well, why don't we, there's plenty of business.
You talk to Dom, Dom's going to start selling you on doing business in like Alaska.
But Dom's he's never going to turn you down from going
An opportunity.
big explosive
Yeah.
dream like that. And so that might be down the road, but I think for now, I think we're going to stick to the state, and it's a massive state.
For sure, for sure. So as we wind down here, I like to leave you guys some time to reflect on, again, right, giving back a little bit to the industry on what are some, so two parts is what advice or shared experience would you give to another husband and wife team that is just starting out, first year in the business? There's a lot of, it's a struggle. You're cleaning at night. You're probably working during the day, or one person is probably carrying on the workload. In my situation, it was Marley, right? She worked 24/7 and I would come in after hours. Like 15 years, you guys have been rocking, growing, kicking ass. What shared experiences would you give for them when they're 1 a.m, they're struggling, they're getting complaints after complaints? What helped you guys push forward together as a husband and wife?
I would say communication and listening. If there is something on your mind that you are unhappy with, don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm not feeling it. And also, when you hear that, being able to say, okay, I want to hear what you have to say, and let's work through this.
Tell me more.
Yeah, because bottling it up and all of a sudden 6 months go down the road and you both explode at each other, that doesn't help.
It's like, right? How about when you say something and it's like, wait a minute, that was like 6 months ago. Have you been holding this in for 6 months?
Yeah.
Why did you tell me this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say focus on, or let each person focus on their strengths. If one person is better in the office with the office work and maybe struggles a little bit on the operations side, there's no reason why that person needs to be in the warehouse doing whatever, doing towels or whatever. And likewise on the other end, if the other person doesn't like customer facing or has a hard time with calls or getting in front of clients, then don't let that person do that. Maybe that person prefers doing some of the physical work early on, right? The floors or whatever the needs are. So just I would say be open, is my advice. Be open to the strengths of that person and let that person flourish within the business using those strengths. And then as you guys grow, you can start handing off different tasks, and then you can continue learning something else within the business, or you decide that passion that you had, maybe it's better spent over here. And so I think just exploring what those strengths are of each person and letting that person run with their strengths.
Yeah, no, a good piece of advice. I couldn't agree more with that. And I'd like to end with, and again, for anybody who wants to connect, we know I'm going to share you guys' information, right? Anybody who's in Texas, reach out to these two. These two have been great friends of mine and just easy people to work with, easy people to talk to, genuine integrity oozes out of these two. Let's talk about, it could be specific, but like a tactic, a strategy, a book, a concept that when you guys learned it, listened it, implemented it, you saw results out of it. Anything you guys want to share on what's worked for you two that you feel like somebody could easily take away from this conversation, write it down, reach back out to ask you questions on it, but like a tactic, a strategy, a book, a quote, anything that you guys can say, do this and it's going to work. It worked for us.
What can you think of probably one of the earliest kind of entrepreneurial book that we picked up as a couple? I remember reading it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And you know, there's a lot of people who have read that book. It's such a great book because it kind of talks about, now that you're in this business, trying to make that shift from employee to entrepreneur to business owner to then investor, right? And the end goal is to be that last one, which is investor, right? And so each one takes different talents of yours and converts it differently. And so it's always trying to make that journey towards getting to that quadrant. And depending on where you are in your life, it just helped me see kind of the bigger picture of this business. And again, I picked it up when we were starting the business, and it kind of, it talks about, it's a great book because it's not just about real estate. It's about self-development. So that would be a great book that I would think anybody that's going through this journey of kind of entrepreneurial path should pick up and just pick. There's a lot of great gems in it.
Awesome.
It really did help us kind of understand where we even stood within the business.
Yeah.
Were we employees?
Yeah.
I mean, it made us look at it.
And you guys got to think, like, we're still employees, right? We're still employees. We're still leading from the front, as my cousin Tony always says. So any last words that we leave the audience? Like I said, we're going to drop down the social media channels of Express. I'm going to have your LinkedIn channels on there as well. Just because, again, I want to have anybody that heard anything that resonated with them, just be able to contact you guys, right? Reach out, connect. we're only as big as our community, and we can only get better by the people that are around us. So any last words? Anything you guys got?
I would just say anybody that's thinking about making this journey, being a self-business owner, make that jump. Make that jump, even if you've got a full-time job and you're doing a side hustle. When you get close enough to where you think you're not quite there, or you're looking at income and you're not sure if you should, make that jump. Invest your time 100% into your part-time gig so that your part-time gig or side hustle can become your full-time hustle.
And this is going to be hard. It is hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
Won't give up.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then again, right? Like generational wealth, right? You guys are living it, doing it. You know, whether the second generation picks it up, it's okay.
For sure.
What you're doing is you're creating an opportunity, right?
Right.
And I think that's what business ownership does for us. So
Yeah.
thank you both for taking the time
Appreciate your
out of
time.
running your business and jumping on and having some fun with me and talking shop. It's been a long time coming. I appreciate you guys. And I hope to see you all soon.
Yeah,
Cheers
absolutely.
to you. Cheers to the success. 15
Yes.
years. Oh, man. I'm like 8 years in, so I got a ways to go for that anniversary. So, but again, Evelyn, Dan, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Everybody from Cleaning and Cocktails family, thank you so much for tuning in and watching and listening. Until next time, cheers. Thank you for tuning in.